Welcome to a brand new week on Breakfast Central here. We're streaming live from our studios in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you to those who are joining us on TV and on social media as well. It's been quite the weekend with the Edo elections making the center stage in the conversation, as it will be in our conversation today. I am Olive Emodi. Thank you very much for joining us. And I am Asue Ighodalo. Yes, no bigger conversation than the elections in Edo State that took place on Saturday. And of course, the numerous reactions to the elections from those who participated and of course the candidates themselves. The governor of the state, Godwin Obaseki, put out a press statement yesterday, basically saying that he was not pleased with the way the elections were handled, with INEC's work at the elections, and basically, said that the will of the people was trampled upon. He was encouraging the people of Edo State to remain calm as they continue to investigate what may have gone wrong. But of course, these conversations are endless concerning the elections in Edo State, and we'll be having loads of them this morning. If you follow the elections, I was here on Saturday, and so the expectations were numerous. But, first of all, with Labour Party, I'm sure a lot of people were very surprised with the way it turned out for them. We're hoping that we're going to have them join us, today or sometime during the week to share their views on what may have happened during the elections. But it's pretty shocking, that the APC got to win in Edo State. Many people who had run polls on social media had expected it was going to be the PDP's election to win. But of course, that's not what turned out. Yes. The allegations of rigging, of course, are expected. For me, as we continue to, of course, x-ray the elections and how everything turned out on Saturday, what I simply just find is another example, to point, that Nigeria's elections are still not anything that Nigerians can hold on to and say, we trust in this process, we're happy with this process, and we can solely stand by this process and determine the trajectory of our country. And that for me is the biggest damage in this whole thing. Yeah, because we had elections in South Africa, for example, right, a couple of months ago. We had elections in Kenya where William Ruto was elected, and you didn't get to hear a lot of, even the people who lost the election say that they didn't trust the process, because it was a process that everybody could see was free and was fair and was credible. And in big 2024 in Nigeria, we still don't have that. Well, in all fairness, Kenya, Raila Odinga wasn't quite accepting of the results at first, I guess, of course, because he believed, but that's just really on a much lighter note. I just think, and I completely agree with you, that the bigger picture that we're seeing here is it's an affront to our democracy, because how do you institute democracy in a country where you cannot trust the electoral process? You can't trust the results of the elections, or even the process by which whoever is declared winner is emerged. Now, PDP has made very strong allegations, they say, from their preliminary findings from EC8C, in comparison to what has been uploaded on IREF, that there are strong discrepancies between the numbers. There have also been allegations of several units where elections were not carried out, Unit 12, 14, 15, a number of the units in some of the local government areas where they have said that elections have not been carried out. And they've urged INEC to pause, to investigate these claims before making an announcement as to who their winner is. I do think that it's very interesting times. Many questions, many questions that need to be answered. There are those who believe that the PDP's fate was determined the moment that the PDP decided, Obaseki decided to fight the Oba of Benin. There are those who believe that that in some way has influenced or turned the Edo people against him. And you can get a bit of that inference when you hear the speech of Comrade Adams Oshomole when he was celebrating the quote-unquote winning of Monday Okpebholo, when he said that, it's not a governor with artificial intelligence. This is a governor with local intelligence who understands the culture and the tradition of the people. So basically highlighting in a way that Obaseki was not a governor that understood or respected the culture and the tradition of the people. So there's that, and then there's the allegations of rigging. There's bribery. There have been videos that have surfaced online that have pointed to the fact that money has exchanged hands or may have exchanged hands between certain parties. Of course, weaponized hunger was still a key factor in this election, as we expected, because in previous elections when things were not as bad as it is right now, people were being bribed in all the previous elections. So I don't think that it came as a shock or as a surprise to see that Nigerians who are trying to make their daily bread,
who are trying to make ends meet were lining up to collect money.
Yeah, but I feel like that is still one of the most shameful parts of Nigeria's electoral process. Regardless of who you want to blame, and we can't continue blaming government for, its mismanagement of Nigeria, both on the federal and on the state level. And then when it's time for Nigerians themselves to decide, who leads them, every 4 years, you still see these same Nigerians who are quick to blame government easily sell their votes, So in that regard, I wouldn't even put that as, I wouldn't even blame INEC for that one. That is just outright greed, and I wouldn't blame poverty for that, because no matter how much you're getting on the election day, that money would never go beyond the first 2 days, the max that you will get. We saw someone yesterday in one of the interviews that News Central carried out, Amadin Uyi, speaking with someone, he said that the parties were sharing 10,000 naira, another party was sharing 15,000 naira. This party, bought votes, but the other party was paying more, and so everybody was going to get money from the other party. And so it is one of the most shameful aspects of, of the whole Nigerian electoral process. But this has been a repeated occurrence.
Absolutely.
It's not the first time. We would just expect that in 2024, people would be wiser and understand that you cannot continue to do that and continue at the same time, in the same breath, rather, to expect a better, government. And if people can easily buy your vote and buy your conscience, then they owe you absolutely nothing for the next 4 years. So there's those angles that must be looked at. With regards the Obaseki and his issues with the Oba of Benin, I don't know that is enough, right? And I heard these conversations yesterday. I heard this argument yesterday. And in my head, I just said to myself that whatever issues that he may have had with the Oba of Benin, he's not the one who is running for office. That is Obaseki. Asue Ighodalo is the one who's running for office. And so you would expect that people will be brilliant enough to say, okay, amongst these 3 candidates, who do we think is best suited for the seat? Is it, Asue Ighodalo? Is it Monday Okpebholo? Is it Olumide Akpata? Or any of the other, 15, 14 candidates that run for the election? Obaseki and his issue with the Oba is a totally different thing. And you need to always remember that Obaseki will go. You have the next 4 years to deal with, your electoral choices.
Fortunately or unfortunately, the kind of elections we still run here in Nigeria is highly dependent on political parties. So many times it's very difficult to separate the person from the party. It's always, the PDP.
Yeah, but it's not the PDP that had issues with the Oba of Benin.
It wasn't the PDP, yes. But because we still run a political party, our government in a way is still powered by political parties. You can't run as an individual, right? You still run under your party. So in a way, and especially because he has thrown his support behind Asue Ighodalo, he's the same way that Oshomole was like the face of Monday Okpebholo, of the APC. So in a way, it might be you want to spite, Obaseki by affecting Asue Ighodalo. But I mean, I'm not.
Who eventually are you spiting? And this is not. Listen, in 2014, there's many Nigerians who were upset with Goodluck Jonathan when he was president. Eventually, they made their decision on who to, be president because of, if that is the justifiable reason. But I mean, see where Nigeria headed, got to from 2015 to 2019. Many of those people who were supposedly angry with Goodluck Jonathan for whatever reasons eventually were regretting a couple of months into making that decision. And so it is, I don't permit anyone in this day and age. I understand that, yes, many people still need to be enlightened. But in this day and age, I still don't give or cut anybody slack that you would take your grievance at one person and use to punish yourself for. Right. And it's not saying that Monday Okpebholo is a terrible candidate or will punish Edo State people, but that cannot be the decision that, the driver behind the decision that used to vote. Everybody must be able to critically analyze by themselves who will suit them more going forward in the next 4 years, except everybody has just agreed that government does almost nothing for them. And so what they simply do is, use their personal grievances with this person to vote, and then survive for the next 4 years because they're not expecting anything tangible from whoever it is that becomes government. And I think that is also one of the problems, that people don't really see anything of value that the government would do for them. And so it's not, whoever they vote, they expect the same thing.
Yeah, at the end of the day. And I think another angle to look at it from, the APC has been accused highly of rigging the elections. They have accused them of rigging it not just on the state level, but this was an allegation we saw in the 2023 presidential elections, right? So when we want to think about the power of incumbency and how someone who's already in power would have more influence. In this case, Governor Obaseki having more influence to be able to ensure that his party candidate wins the election. Unfortunately, the incumbency didn't work in his favor. It would seem that the power was more centered at, was more at the center. Some of the conversations we've had revolve around the fact that the APC is the power at the center, center here being the federal level, in Nigeria. So being that the president is from the All Progressives Congress, in a way that might have influenced the decision. But these are all different theories.
Yeah, we will see. We will see what the next couple of days will bring.
Exactly.
Right, Obaseki and Asue Ighodalo have liberty to contest, the outcome of the elections. The next couple of days will let us know. Maybe the next couple of weeks. As well. There's many aspects of it, that many people found very shocking. The APC winning Oredo was very, 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 very shocking, because normally APC stronghold is Edo North, not Edo South. Edo South is mostly, a PDP stronghold. And so seeing these, results coming from here and there were very, very surprising. But one thing that I would mention, before we go is that the fact that we still don't have elections that we can trust in 2024 makes Nigerians feel trapped. And here's why. Because if you remember just before the Bad Governance protest, during the Bad Governance protest, one of the things that was said was, don't disrupt Nigeria. If you want to change government, wait till the elections.
And then 2027 elections doesn't look like...
Are these the type of elections?
Exactly. We'll talk more about this, the Edo elections. That's the core of our conversations all through today. Remember, you can be a part of this online, as well as calling in when we open the phone lines. But now, let's share with you what our headlines are, and then we'll bring you our top stories, and then we'll bring you the headlines. APC's Okpebholo wins Edo gubernatorial election, and the APC has gotten some criticism about this. We'll look into this some more. PDP reject the results as APC governors celebrate victory. We saw them singing and dancing and celebrating. President Tinubu's APC governors congratulate Okpebholo. And then we have Auchi residents urge Edo citizens to accept the results. We still will be reviewing the newspaper front pages as we do every morning and opening the phone lines for you to join in. But now let's bring you breakfast headlines.
Some residents in Auchi in Edo State have urged aggrieved citizens of Edo State to embrace peace following the announcement of the winner of the governorship election. They urge all party faithful in the state to accept the winner, put the poll behind, and dismiss claims that the election was rigged. Amading Uyi reports.
The election was keenly contested between the All Progressives Congress, the People's Democratic Party, and the Labour Party of Nigeria. Residents of Auchi in Edo State, located at the Edo North area of the state, gave their verdict on the election.
I was so surprised that yesterday election is very peaceful. And since I was born, where they were casting election, where the election will take place, but yesterday is the best election so far.
It was peaceful. There was no problem. Everything went fine.
This election was so sweet and successful, and no fight, no cheating. Everywhere was good.
24 hours after the poll, as the result began to trickle in, some of them gave their reaction as the All Progressives Congress maintained a steady lead.
Out of 18 we are looking for, we have 16, and APC is leading, which is very good. That is just my opinion of this election for now.
If today they announce APC will win the election, I believe there's no problem in that, because we are even expecting one party will win the election before. Two parties will not win the election. It's only one party will win the election.
While the People's Democratic Party claimed the poll was being rigged at the Collation Center, located at the Commission's headquarters in Benin City, those in Auchi dismissed the allegations.
That is a lie. We are APC here. Around this community, many people voted for the APC. We don't have any problem. We don't have any fear for that.
They urged aggrieved persons to embrace peace, accept the winner, and put the poll behind.
There's no need where person will make trouble or where person will be fighting each other. because we are brother and sister in the community.
Nigeria's electoral body has announced the All Progressives Congress as the winner of the 2024 Edo governorship election and beating its closest rival, the People's Democratic Party. In Auchi, Edo State for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
And of course, very interesting report there, showing the turn of the elections and of course the reaction of some people in Auchi, in Edo North, local government area of Edo State. We of course are joined this morning by Amadin Uyi, who of course carried out that report. Good morning, Amadin Uyi. Thanks for waking up super early and joining us this morning. Quickly share, with us, what your experience was on Saturday.
Good morning, Osalge. Good morning to the breakfast team. Now, Osalge, two days ago, I heard you give a breakdown of the political landscape in Edo State. A lot of people who don't live in Edo State don't understand. So it's Edo State, right, for a very long time has not been dominated by one party. And we saw it was clearly visible as we went out to cover the election. Now let me start from security operatives because they were supposed to be neutral. There was a very high presence, very heavy presence of security personnel on ground. The police, the Departments of State Services, the Nigeria military, and other supporting agencies. When you have the prisons, immigration, even the civil defense, Nigeria's civil defense. So what we had or what we saw on ground was that the major federal highways, the major federal corridors were mainly manned by military. So what happened was there was very limited movement. Why also the police also had personnel manning several checkpoints at several junctions. I covered the Edo Central area. I moved from Ekoma to Irua to Urumi. There are several communities. We had Iruepe, Guber, and those others all in the Edo Central area. But I covered three: Ekoma, Irua, and Urumi. And Urumi is the second largest community in Edo State after Benin, after the state capital. From there, we now moved over to Edo North, moved to Auchi. Auchi is the largest in Edo North. It's like the headquarters of Edo North. From Auchi, we moved to Iyamo, where the former governor, Adams Oshomole, comes from. From Iyamo, we moved back to Auchi, and then settled at Ekuma. So you see that the movement, we passed through major federal highways, and they were all barricaded. In fact, from Urumi to Auchi, that is not meant to take more than an hour, took us close to 3 hours, because the military had blocked the major highway at Auchi. So all those trailers coming from the north, bringing fuel and foodstuff, they could not move through. And those ones either going to the north, they could not continue on their journey. So that was how heavy security was on that day. We also observed that there were police personnel at the different polling units. We did not reach a polling unit that we saw less than 3 police personnel.
Yeah.
They were all there. Some were watching the exercise. Some were in the midst of the crowd, just watching to ensure that nobody, and when I mean nobody, could come in to cut away ballot.
All right, Awadi,
that was
I want us to quickly,
within the Edo Central and the Edo North area.
I want us to quickly also, expand on, a video that went viral. You were interviewing people on Saturday, and one of the people that you spoke with, was the one who said that vote buying, was spiraling across the whole electoral process, at least from where he was. He said that one party paid, but the other party paid more. So tell us a little bit about that. Did you witnessed vote buying was that the only person that you spoke with, that attested to that? And would you say that that defined the elections on Saturday?
Okay, Sauge, first of all, it was not just one person. We first spoke to a gentleman, a voter, who told us on the election day when we were at Uromi. He told us about vote buying, saying that there was vote buying ongoing. Now, I would like to just do a comparison. When we were at Ekiti, I think a few years ago to cover one of the off-cycle elections, you could stay, watch, and see vote buying going on. You could see people cajoling people, taking them to a certain corner after the election and talking. You know that there is an attempt to convince people, or there is an attempt to reward people from their votes. I observed that in Ekiti, I observed that in Rivers. But surprisingly, I think vote buying has become more sophisticated, because I intentionally try to look out if I would see those signs. And I am telling you, Salge, I did not see it. It was one of the voters who came to me and told me that there is covert vote buying ongoing. And I asked him, there are a lot of security operatives here. Why are they not doing anything? He said they don't even know. While we were at that polling unit, we saw the van of EFCC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission personnel. They came to that polling unit. They also were looking for those engaged in vote trading, buying and selling. But they did not see anything. But the young man who just cast his vote told us, he said it's so sophisticated and covert that everything has been worked out. Then yesterday when we were getting reactions, I met another young man who even said he's an agent of the Labour Party. And he told me clearly, he said the vote trading, that is vote buying and vote selling, was very, very visible among the voters. And that he, an agent of the Labour Party, he saw his own people go, and the people he thought who were party members go and vote for another party because of the incentive promised them. And he made it very clear that all parties were involved. He didn't say the Labour Party was involved, but I also got information from another person who told me that in Benin, the parents were given money by the Labour Party to vote for them. So you see, it was rife by all parties. There's no party that is exempted. The Labour Party, the People's Democratic Party, and the All Progressives Congress. They were neck deep in it, they participated, and they gave out money. So that, to a large extent, influenced and swayed many voters.
Amadine, can you also give us an update regarding, I don't know if you were there when Governor Obaseki visited the INEC office. Do you have details of what ensued, when he came? And I'm asking because I saw that there were allegations of him carrying a Ghana must go bag.
At the INEC office when okay, I was not at the INEC office when he got there, but the pictures and the videos are already everywhere. And a lot of people, when he did that, a lot of people felt that because every party has their own collation center. So for him, many people assume that for him going there at that time and at that hour, it was like they had already seen the handwriting on the wall from their own collation center. Remember that during the poll, at a certain point in time, if you follow Twitter, follow social media, you saw that a lot of his aides began posting pictures and claiming his candidate had won. But if indeed that was true, then there was no need for him to have visited the collation center. And so many people felt that it was a last and desperate attempt to see how he could sway the officials in charge. But whatever it is, many people condemned it, though that cannot be verified because the governor himself said that he went there to find out why collation had stopped. It is up to him, his conscience, and the officials to come out clean on whatever happened. But what we know was that he got there, he was not given face, he was not attended to by the INEC officials that were there, and he left.
All right. Amadine Uyi, thank you very much for your time with us. We'll keep getting updates regarding the elections in Edo State, but thank you for your time with us this morning. All right. Still looking at the Edo State just concluded elections. We'll be bringing you more details as we have other guests joining us after this break. Following months of intense political campaigning in Edo State, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced that Monday Okpebholo of the All Progressives Congress, APC, is the winner of the highly competitive governorship election held on Saturday, January 21st, 2024. Monday Okpebholo emerged victorious after clinching 291,667 votes to defeat Asue Ighodalo of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who got 247,274 votes, and Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party, who came at a distant third in the race with 22,361 votes.
Now, INEC's returning officer for the poll, Professor Frank Kuta, declared Monday Okpebholo the winner at exactly 9:27 p.m. on Sunday, September 22nd, 2024. The APC candidate won in more than 11 of the 18 local government areas, while the PDP candidate secured a narrow victory of 7 local government areas in remaining councils. The APC also took control in 2 of the key senatorial districts in the state. Joining us is the Media and Communications Officer, Yaga Africa, Jennifer Defwat. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's first of all get, your maybe like a general analysis of what the elections were like on Saturday. The PDP, of course, has released a statement completely declaring that the elections were not free and fair, as they expected. But what did you witness or what did you see?
Thank you so much for that question. So prior to the election on Saturday, our measure or the barometer that we're using to measure the success of the election was integrity, resilience, integrity and resilience. And during the process on Saturday, we saw that the process itself didn't pass either the integrity or the resilience test. So for the resilience test, what are we looking at? Basically, we're looking at voter turnout, were people able to come out and vote? And Yaga Africa has released a report. Late yesterday afternoon, we released a report on what we saw in voter turnout. And we had also predicted before Saturday that the voter turnout was going to be low. And our final report on that shows us that there was about 22.5% voter turnout, and which was lower than what we had seen even in 2020 and in 2016. And this 22.5% we're talking about has a margin of error of about 1.6, thereabout, because we're using a statistical measure. So with people not coming out, you could say that, oh, okay, the process didn't pass the resilience test where people were willing to come out, vote, and defend their votes. In terms of the integrity test, what we're looking at is whether the process itself was transparent, was free and fair. Now, we had 325 observers at different polling units in Edo on Saturday. 300 of those observers were stationed at different polling units that was drawn from a sample. And so the report we got from, opening of polls, accreditation, voting, the process was relatively seamless until collation, counting and collation began. And, we started hearing reports of violence and interruption of the process. So at that point, we could see that the integrity of the elections at that point was marred because we didn't see the process end as peacefully as it started, and while the election was relatively peaceful, and we wouldn't say that, it was marred with so much violence during the voting, the accreditation process, that cannot be said of the collation, the counting and collation process. So generally, this is our view, as an organization that was on ground. I am still in Edo State,
So I want to pick up. I want to pick up from what you started with, with the turnout. You said about 20. Yes. Is it 22% now that you said?
Yes, 22.5.
And that is from registered voters to actual voters, right?
Yes, 22.5% of registered voters who came out to vote. That's
yes.
This number is added to those who collected their PVCs.
Yeah. So I mean, is it then strange, seeing some of the results, from Edo North that show number of registered voters almost at par with number of actual voters. Of course, voting in one direction or the other, but mostly voting one party. Is that normal?
Well, typically in a race where it is expected that the contenders have equal play, we typically should see a reflection of different choices, right? So different contenders being able to clinch certain percentage of votes from each party. So yes, while we recognize that that is not that is a little strange, what our reports show is not just the total number of voters who came out is not just from one senatorial district, but an aggregate of the entire state, across the 18 local government areas. So yeah, we should be able to see a representative vote that truly speaks to the desire of the people, and not just a one way. But again, this is politics, as is contended fiercely, especially with this election. And so for us, that turnout of votes covers the 18 LGAs and not only one senatorial district.
All right. Talk to us about your observation regarding the allegations of vote buying. We hear of votes ranging between 5,000 to 10,000 naira per voter in several locations, including PO8 and PO8 and 9 Ward 2. There's allegations of this happening in Owan East local government area. And, just these different local government areas and polling units. Did you at any point encounter or witness the vote buying? If yes, can you please share with us?
Yes, we did. We did encounter vote buying, and our preliminary reports, which we sent out on at midday on election day, highlighted most of what we saw on the field in terms of vote buying. The major political parties all were engaged in vote buying, and votes were being sold for up to 10,000 naira. And myself, particularly on election day, I was roving, meaning, I was present at various political parties, various polling units during the day. And, it was interesting to brazenly see vote buying occur at, different, in the face of security agents. It was almost like people really didn't care. It was really our votes are going for the highest bidder. So these were concerns again that we raised, looking at the economic outlook and how the hardship, and fuel situation has exacerbated economic hardship, for everyday Nigerians. So it was just so saddening to see that, despite voter education efforts and all of that, but that the political class are still taking advantage of economic situations to impoverish people.
Was there maybe any highlight to this election? Is there one good thing you can look at and say, this is a silver lining? For example, I know there were predictions of violence being violence being an instrument that will most likely mar the elections. I did see a report of some of your officials being tear gassed. I don't know how true that is, but can you share with us if there's any silver lining for Yaga Africa in the 2024 Edo State gubernatorial elections?
Thank you so much. So we have our final report presentation coming up later today, and we'll be able to give more details of what our overall sense of the election is by then. However, one of the things that we are, just able to see at this point is the fact that yes, there was low voter turnout, and at the collation process, there was violence. But thankfully, the voter and accreditation process went relatively smooth. And the presence of security agents was also able to curtail what could have been what could have exacerbated or just easily heightened, but that curtailing at least was able to reduce or even eliminate casualties. Yes, we had observers who were at collation centers and were hiding under tables at odd hours during the day and couldn't leave, and all of that, had some of their bags collected, but thankfully they are safe. And again, it was because security agents were able to step in at some point. So yeah, at this point, what we can say is we're grateful that security agents were able to do their job and step in so that the situation didn't escalate or become worse than it was. But in terms of our full and our overview and our full picture of what we have, we'll be releasing that later today.
All right. So we're looking forward to seeing that comprehensive report from Yaga Africa. Jennifer Dafford, thank you very much for joining us this morning and for the work that you've done. All right. Still speaking about Edo State, it is one of the 8 states where governorship elections are held off-season due to litigations and court judgments. Others are Anambra, Bayelsa, Ekiti, Imo, Kogi, Osun, and Ondo states. According to INEC, 2.2 million people with permanent voters' cards decided Obasaki's success on Saturday, September 21st, 2024. With 291,667 votes, Monday Okpebholo has won the election. And of course, we would continue to X-ray the conversation surrounding, the election and the declaration by INEC.
Absolutely. Now, the Edo election has been declared peaceful and transparent by the Imo State Independent Electoral Commission. How peaceful and transparent is it? We'll be joined this morning by our guest, who is an observer at the Edo elections. His name is Ezenwa Nwago, and is the chairman, Partners for Electoral Reform. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Before we get into the conversation, let's have a look at the gubernatorial candidate for the All Progressives Congress, jubilating and celebrating his quote-unquote win.
And I thank Edo people for choosing the right person for the job. A new Edo is rising. I'm here to develop Edo. I want to transform Edo the way it should be. I want to tell you that I'm starting from where I'm socially stop. And I want to let you also know that I would like to emulate what Akpabio has done in Akwa Ibom State. Edo will receive a new transformation. By the grace of God, Edo is back again.
There you have it, the gubernatorial candidate of the All Progressives Congress giving his speech shortly after the announcement. Let's now join our guest, Mr. Nwangu. Let's talk about the Imo State elections, the Imo State Independent Electoral Commission. They've declared this free and fair. You know, is this a position that you agree with? You know, is this something that you think is free and fair? Based off some of the evidence as well that has been posted on social media and some of the allegations of vote buying and the irregularities that may have plagued this election. Let's get your overall sense of it.
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, you'd have to look at election from a more wider perspective, knowing that it is a process. Is to say the accreditation and voting, how did it go? And I think there's a broad sense in which observers and citizens agreed that that process had gone on very well. And Yaga Africa, as you know, had also talked about the beavers and the percentage of places where it was deployed. About in 95% of polling units where the beavers were deployed, it performed optimally. So that's a huge plus. At the polling unit level, results were collated. And the point in which there are challenges is the collation at the local government area. So, and we have always said that collation has been a weak link. I heard you say, quote and unquote, the victory of Monday Okpebholo. I think that it is important that we realize that there is only one institution in Nigeria that has the power to declare results, and that is the Independent National Electoral Commission. And if the commission has said that someone won the election, that is what it is. It is no longer Bhutan.
Just to add to that, just to quickly add to that, I mean, yes, the Edo State Electoral Commission has stated theirs, and I hear you when you say
it's Independent National Electoral Commission.
National Electoral Commission. All right, I'm going to read out there's some concerns that have been raised about the forms, the discrepancies between figures that were announced, and the figures that were posted on IREF. For example, it was reported here that APC obtained 25,010 on IREF, while 34,847 votes on Form ECHC, the sheet that was announced by the local government returning officer. There was also an announcement that PDP IREF showed 18,620 votes, while figures announced are 15,865 votes on Form ECHC announced by the returning officer. Now, these are very strong allegations that have been made by the People's Democratic Party, saying that there are some discrepancies between the numbers. They say that they would urge that INEC goes back and revisits these numbers before officially making its announcement. Do you think that, is worth looking into?
The results have been announced, and the parties have a process of petitioning. I think that the narrative of the politicians cannot be what we use to gauge the integrity of the electoral process. The PDP IREF you talk about is not available to the public space. The IREF of INEC is available to the public, and we can follow it. And remember that IREF is a viewing center. It is not a collation process. So the collation is done manually. Eventually, whatever you post on IREF, you then come back to physically look at all those forms. If there are challenges, INEC does the corrections that are necessary in the face of party agents, and eventually results are announced. Now, whether a party agent agrees with what was done or not, that does not invalidate the results. So what is important, therefore, is that the parties understand, they know the process, they understand it. If you have an issue, you do an evidence petition to INEC to be able to resolve that. That is why you have all this time lag in terms of when results, collation, and all of those things. Now, at the point where we are now, you can then, if you have this party IREV, as you say, and you have your agent reports from all the polling units, that becomes a reason why you have the election petition, you have the tribunals, you have the Court of Appeal. You can take these evidences there. They are democratic processes. They are all part of the electoral process. None of them is outside of the electoral process. So if you have your results mined from the polling units, you can't take them, assemble them now in a way that they can be evidenced. So in the heat of elections, what you find out is that politicians, especially the political class, are very, very much interested in leading the narrative. But what we have continued to advocate is that it has to be evidence-based. It's not just going to be hearsay, because sometimes they deliberately, model up the polity in a way that gives the impression that there are no progress that is being made by the institutions that organize elections. And that for me is very key, that we should continue as a people to inspire confidence. When we went out by 7 a.m. in the morning on Saturday, we saw INEC officials, that is young men and women of the National Youth Service Corps, who have been deployed for this election, waiting to be taken to their different. I think it's something that is important that we underscore. That yes, polls did not open, early in many of the polling stations as at 8:30 when we talked about. But INEC itself came very strongly and said it will extend the time of voting. So procedurally, you will see that the challenge has not been with, the institutions, the EMB, but the attitude of the political class. And we are not always very quick to put their legs on the fire. We give them the kind of comfort that they don't deserve. We should call them out. You are talking about vote buying.
All right, can you hold on?
Mr.
Wangu,
unleashes the violence.
Mr. Wangu, kind of hold on. We need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we would have you get into this conversation on vote buying. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're still speaking with Asue Wangu on the Edo State elections, where he was an observer. Mr. Wangu, welcome back. Let's get into a conversation on vote buying, which you were just about to go into before we took a break. Most of the persons who we have spoken with, our correspondents who were on ground, and of course the people that they interviewed, Yaga Africa also, which we just had one of their personnel speak with us, all say pretty much the same thing, that it was seemingly rampant vote buying during the elections in Edo State. Do you agree with these claims? And, do you feel like this has any impact on credibility of the elections?
Absolutely. It diminishes first the quality of citizenship. When people sell their votes, they inspire governance failure. And what is even more worrying is that the first time we saw brazen use of money at the polling unit precincts was in the same Edo State in 2016. And the same allegations of security agents looking the other way or even aiding and abetting vote trading was rife. And the game was upped in this particular election to the point where they are transacting between 5,000 to 10,000. In fact, in some places, it was even much, much higher. And I think that, one, it is a challenge of law enforcement, a huge challenge of law enforcement. Even though you had presence of security men much, much better than it used to be in the past. Security provisioning was much better than what it used to be in the past. But this indecent use of funds to induce voters have persisted. And we need to think through a way of ensuring that the elections are not commodified in the way we see it. And what has happened is that once you don't deal with some of this kind of challenge, it becomes a norm. And we've been able to push them out of polling unit areas most of the time because the law is clear that this happens. But I know that the EFCC made some arrests, advertised some arrests that were made. But the challenge is that those arrests were also made in Ekiti. They were made in Auchi. And the status of the prosecution is still not in the public space. So that has to come out openly. What have you done with those who were arrested previously, so that it can be a deterrent?
All right.
So it's absolutely the issue. It's one of the downsides, the big downsides for this election, and it costs across parties. So it was not. The politicians like to when they are rigged, they all try to get into dubious advantage. But once one carries the day, everybody now shouts that. So if for vote buying, it was across the parties.
Well, there, of course, will be more investigation regarding all of the allegations that have been plaguing this current election. But again, thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Ezenwanwangu. We look forward to having more details with the election as the hour and the days unfold.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Now let's share with you a recap of the conversations in case you're just tuning in and let you know what's to come in the next hour. Edo Governorship Poll 2024 outcome has been the crux of our conversation this morning from the moment we started all through. Edo decides 2024. INEC declares Okpebholo winner. We have been joined by Yaga Africa as well as an election observer. Auchi residents urge Edo citizens to accept results. We did also have Amadine Uyi, our correspondent who witnessed the election live. Let's bring with you what's coming up in the next hour. PDP rejects results as APC governors celebrate victory. Newspaper front pages will also be reviewed this morning. We'll also be joined, we'll have Which Way Nigeria. And as we still talk about Edo elections, we'll be joined by Aisha Yesufu. Stay with us.
And now it's time to get into the newspapers this morning, share with you the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this Monday morning. We're going to be kicking off with this Nigeria newspapers. Big one on your screen there says, Edo, it's Monday's day. INEC declares APC's Okpebholo governor-elect as it transitions Ighodalo Akpata amid accusations and counter-accusations of alleged electoral irregularities.
Well, I mean, that was a very brilliant headline, you know, the play on words, very good.
Especially because
today is Monday.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you had soundtrack, maybe today would have been Monday morning talking about me while I'm making money. That would have been the soundtrack.
Floods probe billions of naira ecological funds to Borno. Serap tells President Tinubu. Federal government alerts Nigerians to clear canals, drainages, and gutters over impending flood. And also, halt hike in interest rates to stabilize the economy. Financial experts urge CBN. Those are the big ones on this Nigeria newspaper. And of course, I'm sure for the rest of the week, you know, we will continue speaking about the elections in Edo State, you know, and the turnout of the elections, the allegations of vote buying and vote selling, you know, which, you know, I've said once again, is one of the biggest stains on Nigeria's electoral process, you know, and the fact that we're still not able to fix that particular thing. We understand the presence of hunger amongst us, you know, which plays a very, very huge role in Nigeria's elections all the time, from the voters themselves to the electoral officers to, you know, everybody who's a part of it. Hunger plays a major role on different levels. But I still feel like, you know, we have failed ourselves as a people, the same way, you know, the government, you know, may be said to have failed Nigerian people in being able to create an electoral institution that is fail-proof, you know, to at least to a large extent fail-proof. There's many things, you know, that must be fixed if we want to have elections in Nigeria that people can actually trust. I saw that Dele Farotimi tweeted this morning or yesterday, I'm sure when he tweeted it, you know, saying that obviously elections are not going to be the way out, you know, for Nigerians, you know, and, you know, from what we've seen in Edo State, you know, elections will not be the answer that Nigerians are seeking in order to be able to determine their future and, you know, and where the trajectory of the country, you know, as a state and as a country. So I'm sure that he's tweeting that mostly because of the credibility of the Edo State elections being questioned from both independent observers and journalists and every other person who witnessed the elections. It's not just giving a lot of faith or reasons to trust the process, the electoral process in Nigeria.
Right. Anyway, it's just a number of stories as well to look at on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper. There's a story at the bottom talking about the floods. Pro billions of naira ecological funds to Borno. Serap tells Tinubu, federal government alerts Nigerians to clear canals, drainage, gutters over impending flood. You know what really irks me about flood conversations is the fact that we only talk about the flood when the flood has actually started. There might be warnings before. It feels like we don't take these warnings as seriously as we should until it now goes out of hand and people's houses and cars are submerged, and then their farms are submerged underwater. Then we start to run helter-skelter looking for IDP camp to move these people to, and then talking about the fact that it has impacted the harvest. Last week, we talked about projections about a flood in Kebbi. What has been done about that? Have there been arrangements that have been made to ensure that people are not stranded as a result of the flood? These ecological funds, is there really an investigation being carried out into what the ecological funds have been used? Serap keeps holding the government of the day to account and asking the questions. Is whether we'll get an answer or not, that is the issue. Yeah. Let's move on to, okay, go ahead.
Just to comment on that, my theory, and the reason that you do not see actual steps being taken, preventive steps, months before the flooding, and it's almost the same thing, with Nigeria's agricultural sector. You don't see that there's pre-planning, that people understand what is at stake. That at this time of the year, there's normally scarcity of tomatoes or onions or whatnot. And so the Ministry of Agriculture then takes steps to ensure that they have enough in store so that we don't continue to have that repeated incident every year where you say tomato is very expensive because of transportation or because of storage, because of, whatnot. The main reason is because there's no punishment for failure. So the way that the private sector is run in Nigeria and across the world, if a person
drops the
ball at any point, with regard of your role, if you are, regional manager, if you're head of marketing, if you are head of human resources, whatever it is, whatever role that you procurement, when you drop the ball, there's almost immediate punitive measures, taken against you, either suspension or you get a query or something. But when it is time for government and the things that actually determine the trajectory of our lives as a people, we don't have the same thing. And that's why when you lose lives in Borno State a couple of weeks ago to a flooding, till date, we still aren't hearing of a proper conversation on what happened. Did the government fail in its responsibilities to ensure that the people were protected? Did the people who the government sent from the government's high-power delegation to check on the dam, did they give a falsified report? Did they give a report that was the best of their knowledge, that we have now realized that the best of their abilities is too weak to go on, and so these people should be fired? Those questions aren't being asked, and of course, even after the flood, what happens next? Because Borno State, I believe under Babagana Zulum, was shutting down his IDP camps here and there, as a result of a maybe seeming progress in the fight against insecurity. But now those IDP camps are back open again because the flooding, has taken over 70% of those communities. And so the reason that we wouldn't have a change next year, in 2025, you probably hear about the same flood again, probably hear about the same issues again.
We just literally do rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
We have the same issues happening every year.
Nobody's punished.
Even with Bayelsa flood, about a third of the state was submerged in water last year. We talked about it and talked about how it will impact harvest season, And why nobody is being able to implement these measures is because from the top to the bottom, there is a culture of impunity. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands, So if you're coming to exercise discipline to say, oh, you haven't done well, can you, the superior, say you've done a great job? So who is really going to punish you? We have a call coming in from Lagos. Good morning. Thank you very much for calling.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chidi. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, my brother. Talking about, I just want to talk about the flooding in Borno, a little about Edo election. But first, let me talk about the flooding in Borno. Nigerians have not understood the heart and the mind of politicians. it has become a business in all these things you are hearing, flooding. Before the flood happened, they sent people to go and check on the dam. And they came up to tell us that there was nothing wrong, everything is fine. And later on, before 2-3 days, we saw this flood happening. How many persons have they called out to come and account and give us what they saw and what has happened that this dam broke out? Now, Bruno has been a business state, insurgency. Government have been pumping money. International bodies have been pumping money. Those money now they see that, okay, insecurity is becoming likely in Bruno. Bruno is coming to be settled, is settling. They are not seeing this money coming. They are looking for other means of making people to talk about their state so that they can get this fund for themselves, not for.
It does seem that we've been disconnected with Chidi. I had hoped he would be able to speak on the Edo elections as well. But thank you very much, Chidi, for calling. Let's move on to our next paper and see what the front page is saying. The front page of the Punch newspaper, the big story there says 291,667 by APC, PDP 247,274 for PDP, Labour Party 22,763. These are the numbers of the votes from the parties that you would see. Now let's look at the Edo poll. PDP alleges rigging as APC Okpebholo wins. PDP governors insist candidate won. Obaseki vows to seek redress. Ighodalo rejects results. Tinubu congratulates Okpebholo as Akpabio. Oshiomhole Shaibu, APC supporters jubilate. It's very interesting. I saw the video of their jubilation and they were singing songs. They sang a particular song by Gloria Brima, Miracle Worker. I'm sure when Gloria Brima sang Miracle Worker, she did not intend for politicians to remove the name of God and put the name of their winner in there. 1 year after, Tinubu yet to appoint ambassadors for 109 embassies on page 7. 80-year-old man arrested with cannabis in Lagos on pages 4 and 5. 80-year-old man? What is an 80-year-old man doing with cannabis? Labour Party crisis, Abure faction rules out sanction for Obi. Oyo mob beats soldier over alleged killing of NSCDC officer. DSS frees 6 hunger protesters to arraign 3. Okay. Fresh tariff hike looms as monthly power subsidy hits 181 billion naira. Please. When I'm hearing all these power struggles, I'm a bit concerned. Before my state to come and tell me that they're increasing our power. I mean, this is a stark, sad reality. This thing is going to touch everybody. If there's going to be fresh tariff hike, it's going to impact not just our power sector, it's going to impact everything really, because everyone who does business in Nigeria uses power, and if they're going to be paying more, then the people who are patronizing them will have to pay more as well. PDP crisis, article backs anti-Damagom NWC members. NPC may lower interest rate on Tuesday. Well, that's all that the Punch newspaper has to say. I can't miss this one. Why Wabara was denied job slots according to FCC, and that's all on the Punch newspaper. I don't know. I mean, the Edo poll is a big story, and we've been talking about it, and we will still keep talking about it. But we do have a call coming in this morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for calling.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
This is Babari.
Babari, go ahead, please. Thanks for calling.
My brother, my sister. This was an opportunity for Edo citizens to really protest the hardship that we are going through in the country. This is really an opportunity, but unfortunately, maybe because of money inducement, the people fell to the ranks of the APC. I think there was bad governance protest that this government punishing people. So this is the opportunity for Edo Nigerians to really show the APC that their policies are anti the people, and they should have denied them at the polls. Even you collect money, you do not vote for them, so that they really know that Nigerians are really, pissed off by their policies. So, but unfortunately, the suffering will continue because they feel at the top of their, game that yes, the people still want them in the country. That is what I thought people should have, taught this APC government. Thank you. That is my contribution this morning. It's unfortunate the hardship will continue. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for calling.
Well, I think everyone's entitled to, how they feel, but from what it seems like the Edo people, appreciate the APC and, want an APC government in their state, when taking a look at the possible candidates that they could have had. That's what it means, So, if, our caller feels they should have done otherwise, and that's fine, but from what it seems, they have chosen, and they've chosen Monday Okpebholo to be their governor for the next 4 years, except, of course, the PDP or any other party goes to court and there's an overturning, of the electoral results, but we'll see. All right, still on the newspapers this morning. Let's go to the Daily Times newspapers and see what we can find over there. It says the Edo governorship poll, why APC's Okpebholo triumphed. PDP kicks alleges irregularities of the collation process by INEC. And just like Yaga Africa, when we spoke with the representative this morning, she said pretty much the same thing. That the voting process, the registration process, all of that seemed that it was smooth. But the collation process is where the problems started, or where the problems existed, the most. I also saw that they had put out a tweet yesterday, on Saturday during the elections, saying or sharing, that there was violence recorded in Ikpobalka and Oredo local government areas and part of, polling units over there, and that it was not meant to be allowed for collation process to be taking place in INEC, headquarters or INEC office. They are meant to be happening at the polling units. And so those were some of the irregularities that were noticed by Yaga Africa. And it's, just what the Daily Times is saying here, irregularities of the collation process by INEC. Irregularities very apparent, extremely scandalous, says Ezegbemi. We can also find here Tinubu Ganduje congratulated the governor-elect Okpebholo. Federal government announces contactless passport renewal for Nigerians. And also Tinubu orders crackdown on cyber criminals, transnational car thieves. NDLEA intercepts 16.1 billion naira opioids in Lagos. And also climate finance by multilateral development banks hit record $125 billion in 2023. We can also find investors on the edge as delay in Sukuk and savings bonds payments raise concerns. We also have someone joining us, Ms. Nas. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Mas, can you please turn down the volume of your TV set?
All right, while we wait for that to connect, I think these are the major ones, on the Daily Times newspapers this morning. And of course, still all talking about the Edo State elections, and what, everyone's analysis of the elections are. Are the people of Edo State pleased with the outcome of the elections? I'm guessing that they are. And also, what must be done in order to continue to fine-tune our electoral process so that we do not continue to hear these reports of irregularities in the electoral process. Maz, good morning. Welcome. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
My name is Max. I'm calling from Owerri.
All right. Please go ahead, Max.
It's very disappointing to listen to one of your guests talk about going to court after election. I wanted to ask, which court is he talking about? Court in Nigeria or court in UK or US? As a matter of fact, that's exactly what politicians in Nigeria and parties want, that declare me first as the winner, then go to court. Have we ever in this country see anything positive come from the court? The election in Edo State is just a test run for what's going to happen in 2027. As a matter of fact, I'm so disappointed that somebody from Yaga can still be talking about parties going to court after election, instead of telling INEC to do the right thing from the onset. Not telling people to go to court. Which court? Courts that have met somebody that came forth to be the
no, I don't think, just for correction, I don't think Yaga asked anyone to go to court. You know, if you follow their social media page.
No. The guest that just finished speaking is from Yaga. It's from, one man that just spoke?
No, he's not from Yaga.
He's
an independent observer. He's not from Yaga Africa. So, Yaga Africa, you know, put out a statement, or at least they haven't put out their comprehensive report yet. You know, but the interview that we had just before the person you're speaking of, you know, she was from Yaga Africa, and they said that they noticed there, you know, different levels of irregularities during the elections.
I believe you're referring to the election observer.
Yes, Mr.
Wangu.
Max, can you hear us? Okay, all right. But just for correction, when we spoke with Jennifer Dafwat from Yaga Africa, I hope I pronounced the last name right, Dafwat, she said, you know, that they noticed a lot of irregularities during the elections, vote buy-in, and of course, irregularities during the collation process. She said that the registration process and the voting process, you know, seemed to be seamless, but when it was the collation time, that's when the irregularities started. And of course, you know that, yes, they noticed vote buying across the state during the election. So that was Yaga's report. You know, they are still going to put out a comprehensive report at the end of today, according to Jennifer Dafwat, who we spoke with earlier. They have not asked anyone to go to court. You know, the other people who have spoken about court are maybe Mr. Wangu, who's an independent observer who joined us right after that interview with Yaga Africa. So just, you know, for corrections' sake. And these are, you know, like I said, you know, conversations that we'll continue to explore and see where they lead concerning the Edo State elections. Many people have said that they are a template to what we might be seeing in the 2027 elections. Remember, Ondo State elections are coming up in November as well. That is also going to be another, maybe, you know, a template into 2027. Michael, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Please go ahead with your comment, Michael.
Okay then. So the sham in Edo State, I've always told people that Mr. Tinubu is a master in election manipulation. As long as Tinubu remains the president of Nigeria with the current man in charge of INEC, there can never be a free, fair, and credible election in Nigeria. Let us not set ourselves up for disappointment. As long as Tinubu is the president, APC is in control of everything. The INEC president is there. The judiciary is under their beck and call. There can never be free, fair, and credible election, neither in the polling units, nor in the collation center, nor in the court. We are just prepared to suffer under their yoke for, I don't know, God knows how long, except God intervenes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your views. And thanks for sharing with us. I think this is where we're wrapping up the newspaper review this morning with those three papers. And conversations will definitely continue concerning Edo State's elections, you know, and of course, reactions to it from the PDP, from the Labour Party, from independent observers, from the other political parties that were part of the elections, and of course, you know, from our correspondents who were on ground in Edo State, on Saturday. Analysts also will be here to share with us what are some of the issues that we might be, of course, you know, expanding on. Of course, the evidence of vote buying rampant across the state. Stay with us. We have Aisha Yesufu joining us right next after this very short break. Good morning, and of course, once again, welcome to Breakfast Central. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced Monday Okpebholo of the All Progressive Congress as the winner of the Edo State governorship election. The victory is not just for Monday Okpebholo, it also marks a significant comeback for the APC in Edo State. Recall that the APC lost power in Edo State in 2020 when the incumbent governor, Godwin Obaseki, defeated the PDP defected, to the PDP due to internal conflicts, which stemmed from a fallout with his predecessor, Adams Oshiomhole.
While Obaseki campaigned vigorously for Ighodalo of PDP, Oshiomhole played a crucial role in supporting Okpebholo during his campaign. As Oshiomhole celebrates the win, Obaseki has claimed that the electoral process was marred by impunity and reckless disregard for processes and law.
My dear good people of Edo State, in the last few months, the various political parties have embarked on very rigorous campaigns to sell their respective candidates for the office of governor to the people of Edo State, in an exercise which came to a climax yesterday. The attractive thing about democracy is the power it bestows on the people to choose who governs them. Therefore, when this power is blatantly seized from the people, it is not just a tragedy, but a travesty of democracy. Regrettably, the outcome of the September 21st governorship election appears to have daunted the spirit of many Edo people who feel powerless in the face of the brute force of the institutions that are supposed to protect them.
Joining us now is Nigerian political activist who was on ground to monitor the elections and will be giving us her own observations. We're talking about Aisha Yesufu. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
All right. You're in Benin City and you follow the elections closely. The governor says that it's a travesty. He says that the will of the people has been snatched. From what you observed, did it look like that? And, what are your thoughts about the elections in Edo State?
Yeah, it looked like that. But the thing is that both the APC and the PDP partook in that travesty. And the only reason why Obaseki is coming out to talk now is because he was outbidded and outrigged. That's just, in essence, what happened. Just to quickly talk about the fact that I'm really surprised at the fact that Governor Obaseki is talking about, democracy and democratic principles when he, in his 8 years, in government knows what he has done. It's not yet 8 years, almost 8 years in government knows what he has done in terms of, shredding everything about democracy. We see what he did with the state houses of assembly when he refused to swear in 4 of them. We see what he did with the impeachment of his deputy, governor. We saw what he did also by refusing to swear in 3 out of the 8 justices that he was supposed to have sworn in. But let's put that aside. Focusing on the elections that happened. In the words of Olumide Akpata, on the 21st of September 2024, it wasn't an election that happened, it was a bidding war. And this bidding war was done by both APC and PDP. We saw outright open buying of votes. We know that both the APC at the national level and the PDP at the state level have impoverished the people. They have ensured that poverty has become the portion of the people, and they weaponize that poverty to be able to buy votes cheaply. We saw a situation whereby both of these parties on either side of them, because like I said in one of the tweets that I did, if you take the result of some of the APC results, and if you look at the result sheets from where APC is strong or where PDP is strong or something like that, you see it's almost a mirror image of each other, where you're having almost 90% of voters coming out, you're having high numbers, and then you're putting 1, 0, whatever, for Labour and the other things. So they came together. APC and PDP are the same party. Let's not mix what about it. Obaseki, I'm sure, is already probably picking up his form to go back to APC and become one of that big family that he is. Philip Shaibu yesterday was just in PDP. Now he's celebrating the fact that APC has won. And so, yes, there was that. There was also voters' apathy. A lot of people, did not come out. The turnout is abysmally low in terms of physical presence, in terms of going around the polling unit. But when you come to the paper, the turnout is something else. We're seeing 90-something% turnout in some of the result sheets that are out. And I give you one example. There was one, I can't remember the polling unit precisely now. It said about 1,008 voters are registered at that polling unit. And guess what? 1,006 came out to vote, and 1,004 voted for APC APC, and then 2 voted for PDP, according to this result sheet, this questionable result sheet, and there was nothing for other the state. That's almost like 99 or almost like 99%, you know, voters turnout. Where do we ever have that in Nigeria? Where do you ever get that happen? Especially this particular time where there was so much apathy. A lot of people didn't turn out. And one of the things I would say to the people that didn't turn out is congratulations. They used your ballot paper, because whatever, if you're registered, ballot papers will be sent in and they'll be used, and they were able to use it to rig.
I mean, so we spoke with, you know, representative from Yaga Africa this morning, you know, and one of the things that she mentioned, you know, along with, you know, reporter on ground, was that the vote buying, you know, wasn't just with the 2 major parties. You know, they're also accusing the Labour Party of vote buying. You know, so is this true from what you observed, that the...
No, absolutely not. And why I will tell you that it's not true. If we're going to engage in vote buying, definitely there's no harder. We didn't have enough money to have paid people 100,000 at Olumide Akpata's polling unit. While he was there, and this is something he has also mentioned, while he was there, the vote buying was going on. And he knew one of the supporters would come to him like, worried, at least let there not be shame. He was like, no, whatever, we need to see what things are. He's not going to partake in that criminality. If we're going to buy votes, definitely we would have bought out the votes and show up the numbers and really have that good fight that everyone was going to fight. But I thought that's not factual. Let her recheck again and see the people who partook in vote buying. And it was APC and PDP. It's there. The police have caught some of their people out there that partook in this, both on both sides. So there's no vote buying that came from Labour Party. Okay, and the Labour Party as well, I think it was very shocking to see the disparity between, or the difference between the numbers that have been, you know, said to be the numbers for the PDP, the APC, and the Labour Party with about 22,000. Did this come as a shock? And, you know, what steps will the Labour Party be taking regarding this? So the thing is this, I love the way you put where it says said to have come, because that's just what it is, said to have come. This election, this Edo election, I can tell you that it's not just about, a gubernatorial election. It's about the two, the 2 Siamese twins that we have, you know, APC and PDP, and an idea of a third force, of another party daring to be an opposition. So as far as they're concerned, whatever that can be done to kill any notion of third force will be done to kill any notion of third force. If they have to come together, if they have to share the vote, okay, you're stronger, we'll take this, you take that, because they did that also with the 2023 presidential election, which came as a shock to them, the way people came out and stood out. So it's not about the party itself, that, the party didn't have what it was supposed to have. This is the fact that there are 2 parties who believe that the only people who are supposed to stand for election are the people that they put forth, whether they are good or they're not good. And Nigerians must always remain at the point where they are choosing the lesser evil, or between the devil and the Red Sea. They want Nigeria in that perpetual state so that they can continue to give the incompetence they want to give. And you are forced to go from one of them or the other, and they know they can move fluidly. They know they're literally like one party with different branches. So that is what that is for them. And that's just the way they see it. So this, for me, I think that is for Nigerians to say, and this is for every one of us to say, do we want to continue to be slaves to these 2 parties who call themselves dominant parties and have a sense of entitlement that it has to be only them? Or are we going to stand up and every one of us begin to know that politics is our business and we don't have any business staying out of it and allowing other people to continue to control who are the people who get to govern? Because at the end of the day, the people who got to govern are the ones who are going to make policies that are going to make or mar our lives. And so that's what this is all about. It's not about Labour Party itself. There is a connivance between this to do everything it can to ensure there's no third force.
I mean, at this point, would you expect, I mean, you've pointed out the irregularities. You've also said that they were out buying themselves and out rigging themselves, like what you've said. The Labour Party, of course, you know, watched all of this happen. Would you be expecting Labour Party to go to court to challenge the credibility of the elections?
Well, that will be for the party to decide itself whether they're going to do that, and for the candidate to decide itself. But I think, based for me as a Nigerian citizen, I think it should worry every one of us, the electoral process that we have right now and what is going on. And for me, let me just add something also, to say that we saw what happened in Imo State, where, you know, violence and intimidation was used, and APC did the same thing. We saw what happened in Kogi State, where violence and intimidation was used, and APC, you know, got to put its result the way it wanted to put it. We saw the fact that result sheet had been written. Even in this election, there were quite a number of places in Edo State where the people were caught with already result sheets that were already filled. These are places where the incumbents were already APC. Now coming to PDP, to Edo State, the incumbent is not APC, it's PDP. So there was a grand power, and the federal might and the state might were warring at each other. And they probably saw that, intimidation and violence was not going to work. And then they went through the route of vote buying, massive vote buying. We have Ondo election coming up. We have Anambra election coming up. We've already seen the menu, the blueprint that APC has on ground. It wants to turn itself to a one-state party. And at this moment, I think it's critical for every Nigeria. If we really want a nation that works for everyone, if we don't want our lives where it is now, right now, to depreciate, for the bad governance to worsen, insecurity to worsen, Nigerians need to stand up. Because at the end of the day, what they do is that they continue to impoverish the people. And when they impoverish the people, it makes it cheaper for them to buy, you know, the votes of the people that they want to buy. In some places, they bought votes as low as 5,000 naira. In 2016, they were buying votes like 10,000. How many years later, about 8 years later, they were now buying some 5,000, 10,000. So the more the people are impoverished, the more the people are in poverty, the more they are able to, you know, weaponize that poverty and use it. And Absolutely. So here we are, where it is not one man, one vote. It is not free, fair, credible election. It is who are the people who are going to bring money, and they have the money, the money of the people to use to pay the people and take away the votes. And that should worry every one of us.
So, and I completely hear you when you talk about weaponized poverty. I think it was one of our biggest concerns, because we haven't had as bad a time in our country as we're having now. And if buying votes or vote buying has been in existence for years, you know, we wondered if, I mean, we're not surprised that this year wasn't an election. But I do think that, I mean, I heard you say that Nigerians need to stand up if they're going to be sure that we're not going to go into worse levels of poverty. But the question is, what will standing up look like? Because it would seem that protests are not allowed, and it would seem that, you know, a number of Nigerians are losing faith in the electoral system. So what would the picture of standing up look like?
Okay, so the first thing I'll say for those who are losing faith is to say to us, it's not going to get easier. The people who are out there to destroy Nigeria are very tenacious. And so when people say they are losing faith or they don't want to do anything, they don't want to participate in the election, everything, I say to them, you already participated. Even when you're either participating actively or you're participating passively. So that's the mindset that we need to have. And right now, with the kind of medical discovery that I have, people are going to be here in Nigeria for the next 50 years, 60 years. Some people are going to live for the next 60 years. And it's going to keep worsening if we don't do the needful. So what does standing up look like? Standing up means we begin to call our representatives at the National Assembly to say there needs to be a new electoral, there needs to be amendment. There needs to be a situation whereby there are stringent rules, things that are put there. It doesn't mean that the politicians that are used to this thing, the normal political class that we have, they will find their way of going around it. But before they find their way, it goes through. So you leap up a lot of things. Another thing, standing up would mean that INEC, whoever it is that heads INEC, the INEC chairman or chairwoman or whatever it is, should not be someone that is appointed by a Nigerian president. We must get a situation whereby the independence that is in INEC should not only be the I that is in their name, that they are absolutely and truly independent. We must have a situation whereby Nigerians are standing up and saying to their lawmakers, finding a way that indeed people who are put in to be INEC commissioners are not card-carrying members of any political party or supporters of any political party. They must be people who are not partisan, who are going to be unbiased.
Yeah, we did get to see that. Yeah, we did get to see, you know, I mean, there were those allegations, you know, of the REC, Mr. Noha, being cousins with Nyesom Wike, and of course, you know, one of the national commissioners for Edo State also being an APC member, allegedly. But before we go, I want you to quickly just speak on Edo North. You're from Edo North, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, where it seemed to have given the APC its largest voting, you know, numbers. What are your quick reactions to that? You know, is that mostly because of the influence of Adams Oshiomhole as a former governor? Or is there any other reason Edo North, you know, voted en masse for the APC?
So in the case of Edo North, something went on. First of all, I'm ashamed of the fact that there was massive, you know, vote buying. People were selling their vote. And then there is that influence of Adams Oshiomhole, where he has kept the people, you know, sort of like oppressed and continues to use that power, that undue influence negatively. The other thing also is the fact that Governor Obasi, the deputy governor, I think the court have restored him now, Philip Shaibu, is from Edo North. And PDP, knowing fully well that the Edo North was not even on the ticket of the PDP and APC, on their ticket. He did everything. He impeached him in such a manner that you know, democratic principles were not adhered to. And so, first of all, this is someone, you don't have a donut on the ticket. You decided that you were going to impeach the person that they had there. Of course, there were going to be anger. Then the issue of the PDP head also, from the Edo North, there were issues. The PDP had been divided, and it was so much easier for people to be disillusioned and not even come out. And then the ones that came out, their votes were bought. As an Edo North person, I will tell you, I am absolutely ashamed that my people decided that 5,000, 10,000 was more than, you know, what their lives will be. Like our people will say, "Uno tonora, no tonora, dorezela kemile here, madam here."
I like that. Please help us translate that before you go.
Well, I said it's like where they said their mouth was itching them, scratching them, and because of that, they decided to sell their future for 5,000, 10,000. We will see how it goes.
All right.
That's like what I said.
Aisha Yesufu, thank you very much for joining us and for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. More conversations this morning. Quite a heartbreaking one, really, to see that, again, we're still at a place where we do not, our elections are being questioned, and the flow of the elections as well as the results are being questioned. But we'll talk more about this. We have Which Way Nigeria coming up next.
The political party that we are sharing money, PDP also share, but it's not up to the amount of APC. So as a result of that, because of the money, APC, even PDP members and Labour Party members and other political members follow money. They began to vote for money. They were voting for money, not for any other thing. They were voting for money. Because of the money that they were giving people in the field, they decided to follow APC and vote for APC.
Now, in every electoral cycle in Nigeria, and generally, when you review the Nigerian approach towards politics, one thing that continues to be on full display is poverty. It is one of the biggest factors that has shaped the thinking of a large percentage of Nigerians with regards to our political decisions and the journey that we're on. Poverty. Now, there are people who have mentally and emotionally checked out from the idea of a better Nigeria in their lifetime. They have long let go of the possibility that Nigeria will ever work. And you can't really blame them. It is amongst these people that you will find those who are always open to selling their votes on election day for 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever the parties offer. Because like I described, they're fully giving up on a better nation or the idea of a better nation. So why not just take a few thousands and eat for that day? Now, there are also those who have equally given up on the idea of a better Nigeria and now see the dysfunction in Nigeria as an opportunity to gain financial rewards. They don't care how much the country is dying as long as they can make money off it. In fact, they will sell off fellow Nigerians in the slave trade if they would make money off it. They will sell Nigeria off to colonizers this morning if it was sure to bring them millions of naira or a passport. They will sell Nigeria this morning without even thinking twice. They are the exact same people who lick the boots of the average Nigerian bad politician because that relationship brings them a few millions here and there. through handouts or fake government contracts. That money they make is what they use in paying school fees for their children or their house rent or their bills. They don't mind campaigning for a Hitler-like figure in Nigeria if it assures them of some access to the national cake, of course, with which they survive. And these people would justify it with many reasons, but the most popular is the Nigeria no fit ever better reason. So, I mean, let's take what we can. In fact, while you people are busy criticizing government, we are here making millions. There's many people that think like that. They're all around you. Ladies and gentlemen, my view this morning is that there's no difference between the one who sold his vote for 1,000 naira and the one who is licking the boots of a politician so that he can pay his bills. They are both driven by poverty and being open to survive through a complete betrayal of their country. It is simply the same thing, just on different levels. The country could be dying, but these people are willing to feed off its carcass. Now, before you criticize either of these people, ask yourself, does it really seem like Nigeria would be better someday? It's food for thought this morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, very strong conversation there. You must find out which category you are or which category you belong to. Are you among those who are selling your birthright for a plate of porridge? Or are you among those licking the boots of the politicians? The ball is in your court. I'm hoping that you fall into neither category. But the conversations still continue regarding the Edo State elections. Let's share with you what's coming up later today on News Central. 10 a.m. West African time, we have Jasiri. 12 p.m. West African time, News Central now. And 5 p.m. West African time, it's The Conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. It's time for us to go, but the show continues here on News Central Television. I'll see you tomorrow. I am Olive, M.O.D.
And I am Osaogie Ogbawa. See you tomorrow.